Hello there, and welcome to the introductory first podcast edition of Winning the Division with Ryan Smith, alongside former NFL tight end, played for the Titans, the Raiders, the Bucks, Ben Troupe. Ben, how's it going, man?
Hey, listen, it's going great because football is back. We here. Listen to every podcast that's been out there. Just know, man, winning the division is all about the schemes, teams, traditions, transactions, anything that has to do with NFL culture. You're going to get it here on winning the division. Looking forward to it, Ryan.
Yeah, some introductory stuff before we get into kind of what the meat of this first episode. We will be on the Fans First Sports Network, which is where this podcast will be powered by. So you can follow Fans First on Twitter at FansFirstSN. We will also be on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel, along with me and Ben's own YouTube pages as well. But follow youtube.com/Tobacco Radio. That is where you can find the YouTube version of this podcast. You'll also see it in the social medias. I am at SRyanSmith7 on Twitter. Ben, where can they find you on Twitter?
At Ben Troupe 84 on all Twitter handles. That is on X. That is on IG. I don't really mess around with Facebook. If I am on there, I did not set it up, but that is me. So,
Okay, very good. Well, Ben, let's get into it. Today is the first episode, as we said. We're going to talk about the divisions, our record season predictions, going 1 through 4 for each and every division, all 8 divisions. So let's just get into it. So starting with the AFC. We'll start with the AFC East. And then just go for it. So I said off the top, I was going to describe each team using one word. So we'll start with the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to say streaky is the way I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. I described this team as very streaky. You've got Joe Brady in his first full year as offensive coordinator. Josh Allen is the quarterback. Carolina Panther fans know Joe Brady. He was the offensive coordinator there at one time. Also had stops at LSU with Joe Burrow when he was in college as well. I like the Buffalo Bills. I like what they added. They got rid of Stephon Diggs, which I think a lot of people were kind of, they were kind of panicking over there a little bit. But I like the Buffalo Bills in this division. We'll go through each team before we say the record predictions. But I like the Buffalo Bills and kind of what they're at this season. They've lost a few pieces on defense as well, but they've got a good coach in Sean McDermott, and he knows what he's doing. I think the Bills are going to have a good year.
You said streaky. I mean, when I think about the Buffalo Bills, I think overhyped. And for this reason, listen, Sean McDermott is a good coach. You talk about Josh Allen and what he brings to the table. I mean, people don't give him enough credit for what he means to the dual quarterback position. The guy is big, strong, and can get it done. This is the thing about the Buffalo Bills every single year, Ryan, that I'm always poised to see. All right. AFC East, they're going to be hot. They're going to be picked to finish very, very high, even with them the high-powered Dolphin offense, and everybody talking about what's going on with the Jets. I don't know what's going on with New England these days. The Bills are a head-scratcher because they're good enough to beat anybody. It's the games they lose. They lose to less opponents, less talented teams, not as good. So that's the thing is, the reason why I say overhyped is because they got everything. They got everything, but they find a way to be on the outside looking in. Yes, it'll probably come down to the last game or last 2 games of the season to decide who will win the division between them and the Dolphins. I know, look, in 2023, Lamar Jackson got 49 out of 50 first-place votes to win the MVP. It's only one voter that voted against him, and that was the beat writer for Buffalo. Come on, man. Stop with the nonsense. That should have been a unanimous, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to say overhyped, because I got to see it. Love Buffalo for what they do. Love the transactions and how they come together as a team. But can they get it done in the postseason? I'm not going to give you my record, but I will say overhyped. Good team now. Buffalo is back. When you talk about Buffalo and their fan base, just know they are about as crazy as it get when you start talking about their Buffalo Bills. But Ryan, at a certain point, they're going to start saying, look, man, we already got a documentary going to 4 straight Super Bowls and losing. We can't even make it to the AFC Championship game these days and win it. We'll see, but I do like the Buffalo Bills. I do think they got probably the best team in the division.
Miami Dolphins will go to next, transition to them. I refer to them as a track team. Fast is the word that comes to mind. You've got the Cheetah in Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, former Alabama receiver. You got Devon Achane, second-year man out of Texas A&M, who's going to do some damage back there in the backfield, along with their stable of running backs. You got the genius Mike McDaniel at the helm there, former disciple of Kyle Shanahan. And then you've got Tua Tagovailoa, who signed a new contract just recently this offseason. He is someone I think they're very weather dependent. We saw that last year in Kansas City during the playoffs. But I like this team as well. I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last year. They lost a lot of things on the offensive line. They lost some defensive linemen. Christian Wilkins specifically signed with the Raiders. Robert Hunt. And so I like this team, but I don't know if they're going to be just as good as they were last year. So that's my thought on the Dolphins.
My word for the Dolphins, they suspicious. You saw what they was able to do in 2023. You talk about the track team and everything that they had, but this is what makes them suspicious. We mentioned if it's hot, they hot. But if it's cold, they are ice cold. And the thing about Miami is, I get it. When you got great weather year round, listen, the fall feels like the summer, the spring feels like the summer, the winter feels like the summer, and obviously the summer is the summer. You get kind of spoiled. Right, when I got good weather year round, right? I'm in one of the best cities in the world. I got so many things going on. I got the cheetah. I got Jalen Waddle. The reason why I call them suspicious is, you talk about Tua, he got his money. You talk about Mike McDaniel, probably the most, curious, coach you've ever seen in the National Football League, from like how he coaches and, how he preaches his message. They can't stay healthy. They littered with all pros all over the field, right? But are they just good for the regular season? Because if they got to go on the road, that's either going to be in Buffalo or Kansas City, or dare I say if the Jets make the playoffs. Can they win on the road the way they do? Can they win on the road? I think for me, they really, really are suspicious because, you're talking about Jalen Ramsey. They got all these players, no postseason success. I am looking forward to seeing, another year with Tyreek and Tua and that offense. The defense has a lot of big names, not necessarily great production. I know that Nick Chubb is going to start on the PUP list because he got hurt after Phillips. If they can stay healthy, we'll see, Ryan. But, when you haven't won a playoff game as long as the Miami Dolphins haven't won one, will this be the year? We will see.
Yes, we will. Let's transition now to the New York Football Jets, as some people call them. Aaron Rodgers and company. Rodgers 5 snaps last offseason. On the defensive side, Sauce Gardner holding it down over there. We'll get to the Houston Texans later, but some people think, Sauce might not be now the second best corner in the NFL behind Derek Stingley for the Houston Texans. But, that's an opinion I've heard anyway. So Sauce Gardner over on the defensive side of the ball, and then Aaron Rodgers all about the offensive side. Breece Hall coming off of the ACL last year. I think this year being a full year removed from that, he's going to be a terror in the backfield for the Jets. And then don't forget about Garrett Wilson over there on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. They were lining up everywhere, really. But this is a pivotal year for Robert Saleh and the New York Jets. I think that playoffs are bust for them personally, in my opinion. But this is a team that I would say is two words, QB dependent. So I cheated there a little bit. So 2 words is QB dependent is my word for the New York Jets.
The New York Football Jets, right? If I had 2 words for the Jets, I would say it's time, right? The last time the Jets were good, their starting quarterback was Mark Sanchez. He went to back-to-back AFC championship games. You're right. Rex Ryan was the head coach. That's the last time they've been halfway decent. I will say this about the Jets. The Jets got the best defense in football. When you look at them top to bottom, they're going to be hard to move the ball with. Everybody want to talk about Sauce Gardner, right? Quentin Williams might be top 3 interior defensive lineman in the National Football League. His brother Quincy, he would be the quarterback. You got brothers, Quincy and Quentin, on the same freaking defense. But here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. Because I know it's about this offense. Here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. Aaron Rodgers played not even a series last year.
4 plays.
Aaron Rodgers wasn't showing up to OTA. That's organized team activities for those of you who don't know. Aaron Rodgers has become a drama king. It's all about Aaron. It's all about him. Here's the thing. Do I think when Aaron Rodgers throwing the football around, he's one of the best in the world, Smitty? Here's the thing, though. I think Aaron Rodgers wants to be famous more than he wants to be a great football player. This is why I said he wanted to go to the Jets. Who went to the Jets when they left Green Bay? What was that guy? Brett Favre went to the Jets when he left Green Bay, right? Because it's something about the bright lights. If they can keep, Aaron Rodgers healthy, Mr. AA Ron himself, Mr. Double, if they can keep him healthy, I think the Jets got a shot. Here's the thing, though, Ryan. We are pulling this from a place we've never seen. The Jets in the playoffs? We'll see.
And then we wrap it up with the New England Patriots for the AFC East in this first of 8 divisions. New England Patriots, new era is kind of the word I think of in this division. New era. Bill Belichick is gone. Gerard Mayo is in. Drake May is maybe the starter, maybe not. Jacoby Brissett, as of right now, is still the starter. We'll see on that. But this is a team that I think is going to go through a pretty big transition this year. The wins are not going to be very many, few and far between, if you ask me. For the Carolina Panther fans that are out there, last year's 2-15 debacle season, I think the Patriots may not be that bad, but I think it's going to be very similar in terms of wins this season for the New England Patriots.
The New England Patriots, Gerard Mayo, I love the fact they hired from within. I mean, the guy that got drafted by the New England Patriots, he is a predator. He gets to follow Bill Belichick. Here's the thing about New England, right? Since Bill Belichick and Tom Brady no longer joined at the Hill, Bill Belichick has gone back to the dark days. Oh, I'm sorry, the Patriots have gone back to the dark days, right? I do not think Mac Jones was a bad quarterback. I think he was on a bad team. Now he's with the Jaguars. He'll get a chance to back up Trevor Lawrence. We'll get to that later on in the show. The thing about New England is they don't have an identity anymore. Remember when New England had a great defense? Not anymore. Remember New England had just big-time offense? Not anymore. Because they're going through an identity crisis, you don't know what to expect from New England anymore. Right? They're not going to be favored in most games they're going to play unless they, playing somebody like Arizona or something, which I don't see them playing them this year. I think that Mayo is instilling his culture within that organization. Those take some years, Ryan. No matter who you got at quarterback, and right now, Drake May because of where he got drafted, Jacoby Brissett because he's a vet. Joe Milton. If he had gotten drafted, if Joe Milton got drafted in the top 5 and Drake May got drafted in the 5th round, Joe Milton will be starting. But I think you want Jacoby Brissett to start for this reason. You don't want to throw the young guy out there and let him lose. He's gonna lose all confidence and probably gonna get hit a lot before it's time for him to actually go in and stay in. I think they do go with Jacoby Brissett, but it's just a sad. I mean, it's just a sad time up there in New England these days because, like I say, as a person that used to have to deal with these New England Patriot fans when they had to go at quarterback, man, ain't no unless you eating some curry goat, and ain't finna be no goats coming around no New England anytime soon. It's gonna be a long year for them Patriots.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the record prediction now, specifically for this division as we kind of go along here. Now, I know we don't have a sponsor yet from DraftKings, but maybe we'll see what happens down the road with them. So I'm going to be reading DraftKings specifically, though, their win totals just because I have them pulled up in my research. New England Patriots, 4.5 wins for them. So I'm going to say 4. 4 and I guess that's 4-13, I believe is what that would be. Is my prediction for New England there. Finishing dead last in that division. Coming up into the New York Jets, 9.5 is their DraftKings over-under. 10.5 is for the Dolphins, and then Buffalo is also 10.5. I'm going to have the Jets and Dolphins both at 9 and 8 in a second and third in this division. I'll say that who gets the nod in a second. And then Buffalo, I've got at 10 and 7 winning this division. At 10 and 7, your Buffalo Bills are the winners of this division. I've got the Jets in second at 9 and 8, the Dolphins in third at 9 and 8, and then New England at 4 and 13.
Yeah, I mean, we're really, really similar with the records. I mean, I think the Patriots will find a way because the NFL is so wacky. I think they'll get to 6 wins. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think some of these games are going to be just bottom feeder games towards the end of the season. Both teams are not in the playoffs. I got them going 6 and 11 only because I just think the NFL is such a long season. Gerard Mayo and them, they'll be able to steal some games they shouldn't win, and that could be stealing a game in the division. With the Bills, with the Dolphins and the Jets, I got them both going 10 and 7. I think both of them finish 10-7. I like to listen. When you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's going to boost the morale of the entire team. He's going to have that defense playing well. They're going to establish a run game. They're not going to put everything on him in the passing game, even though I do think the passing game is going to be potent. I think the Dolphins take a step back, man. I do think that I got to win the 10 games, but you're not going to that crazy offense you had a year ago with them crazy little motions you had. They're going to double and triple Tyreek, and they're going to force Jalen Waddle and company and Mostert and company to beat them. I don't know if that's going to be a recipe for success or failure, but that's going to be the game plan week in and week out. And look, I got these Bills going 11-6. I think the thing about the Bills is this: I wanted to go 12-5 with them, but I think the Bills do this. The Bills are real similar to the Ravens to me. They'll lose a team they shouldn't lose to, and they'll dominate teams. That kind of like even the match. But yes, I got the Bills win the division at 11-6. I got the Jets actually finishing second at 10-7, even though them as well as the Dolphins are going to go 10-7. And listen, my bottom feeder is going to be the New England Patriots. I mean, sorry, Patriots fans, I don't see y'all coming out of the dark ages anytime soon. We'll see, but that is my prediction. For the AFC East, I think it's going to be very, very, very competitive, just like last year.
Well, let's move to the best division in the NFL, in my opinion, the AFC North. This division is going to be jam-packed. I really think any four of these teams can win this division. And I do not say that lightly. Now, I definitely think two of them have the upper hand, but I do think any of the four could win this division if things break right, injuries, and what have you. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens, who is 11.5 over-under win total for DraftKings. Ravens bring back Lamar Jackson once again. He is fully healthy. You've got Todd Monken, offensive coordinator formerly of the Georgia Bulldogs, leading the way. They lost Mike McDonald, defensive coordinator, to the Seattle Seahawks. We'll talk about them later. Anthony Weaver, their defensive line coach, also got a promotion in Miami as a defensive coordinator, who we just talked about there at the Dolphins. So they lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball. They do bring back Lamar and a lot of their offensive pieces. However, this team, I've got faith in them because, honestly, they're just one of the three best run organizations in the entire NFL. So consistent is the word that I have for the Baltimore Ravens.
The thing about the Baltimore Ravens, if I got to give them one word, culture. Culture going to win in football no matter what. And they got probably the best culture in football when you look at the fact they got a head coach that you know is going to be there. He's about as consistent as it get. But the thing about it is, this is the thing about the Ravens that's going to make them very, very dangerous. You talk about, Bateman. You talk about Flowers, you talk about the fact that Andrews, Derrick Henry is your starting running back in the backfield to go along with Lamar Jackson. Just imagine 3rd and 1. Defenses are scared to death. That's going to be the best RPO in football. You got Lamar Jackson sticking in the gut of a 250-pound back, and he can just give it to him, and then he can pull it. That strong side linebacker, that strong side defensive end is like, please give it to the because if that defensive end closes and Lamar pulls it, that's an easy 3rd and 1. And you talk about a defense, right? And with the Ravens, who they're gonna be different on defense, but they're gonna be really, really, really. Roquan Smith, he is everything that moves. Kyle Van Noy, he is everything that moves. Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton. They're going to be really, really good. The thing about the Ravens is they go out there and they replace players. But one of the biggest off-season additions ever was when my Titans, once again, letting go your best players, and they go to good teams. Derrick Henry is a Raven. Anyway, that just me being salty. But, yes, I got the Ravens. Surprise, surprise. The Ravens are going to be really, really good again this year in the AFC North that's got Joe Burrow with the blonde hair. Macaulay Culkin is back, people. It's gonna be a big time. It's gonna be some fireworks in the AFC.
Yeah. Let's go to the Joe Burrow-led Bengals. Cincinnati 10.5 is their DraftKings over under. I've got them. I thought of a lot of words for this team. I'm just Joe Cool is my phrase for this team. Joey B, aka Eminem look here for some people, and Joey B, health is, if I had to say a non-Joe Cool thing, I would say health would be the biggest factor for this team specifically. Joe Burrow's got to stay healthy, some freaky injuries. Jamar Chase has a contract situation on that side of the ball there. T. Higgins headed for free agency after this year with the franchise tag, in which he is going to be playing under that tag for one final year. They've been pretty lucky on defense. They have not lost Lou Morona, the defensive coordinator, one of the best in the league. He's still there calling the plays. Von Bell, they brought back from Carolina on the defensive side of the ball. And they just in general have been very good on the defensive side of the ball. The offense has been consistent, as I said earlier, with this team with the Ravens. But I like this team. I might have them winning the division. We'll see in a second. But this team is good. If they can just stay healthy, the sky is the limit for this team. We won't do Super Bowl predictions today. Maybe we will. I don't know. We'll see. But this team can go all the way if things break right.
My word for the Cincinnati Bengals, pressure. They're gonna put pressure on the whole league. When Joe Burrow is healthy, they can beat anybody, right? Yes, Joe Milton has moved on, to the Houston Texans, but they guys, you talk about Zach Moss, you talk about Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you talk about Mike Gesicki, Sam Herbert, Trey Hendrickson, Logan Wilson. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about this Cincinnati team. Every time Joe Burrow has been healthy since 2019. His teams, they ain't playing to just win. Joe Burrow, to me, is the only quarterback that scares the hell out of Pat Mahomes. I don't care what Pat Mahomes said. That dude over there, he legit. And here's the thing about Joe Burrow. Don't he seem like pressure don't get to him? Dyeing his hair blonde. Right. It's almost like Joe Burrow is saying, listen, Jamar Chase not in camp. They asked him about Jamar Chase. He said, look, I got chemistry with that dude. How long does it take for y'all to get back on the same page of practice?
He said he was bored. That's why he did.
I've been working with the dude since 2018. The guy missed a year of football and still was drafted 5th overall. Think about that. I mean, I think the thing about this Bengals team, they will go as Joe Burrow goes, and it's going to be the health of the offensive line and how the offensive line plays. Because the one thing about this division, it is loaded with defenders. Loaded with guys that can rush the passer, get after the passer. That's been Cincinnati's biggest thing is the offense doesn't struggle whether Joe Burrow is out there or not. Obviously, they're better with Joe Burrow is out there. You're going to have to make sure his health is at the forefront. Zach Taylor doesn't get enough credit for the type of coach he's been since he's been at the helm. Already been to a Super Bowl. Like already. Yeah, we already been. Didn't win it, but we was there. I think the thing about this Bengals team is they're going to put pressure on a lot of people. They don't got it. Offense, they got big names. Defense, the names aren't as big as it is around the rest of the division. They can beat anybody. And I hear that they're wearing all orange. I think they're wearing the orange pants with the orange top this year. I mean, it's very, 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 very underrated uniforms. Track it. But for me, I like the Bengals with Joe Burrow, and the reason why because the backup is Jake Browning. So you might want to keep Joe Burrow healthy, but I do like the Bengals to put pressure on the entire division.
Well, Jake Browning did play well last year in the little spot duty that he did play. Well, actually, that wasn't spot duty. It was actually quite a few games. But he did play pretty well last year. But like you said, don't want him starting for the full season if you don't have to. Let's move on now to the Cleveland Browns. Oh, the Cleveland Browns. Their over-under is 8.5. Deshaun Watson is their starting quarterback. Will he stay healthy? But I already used the word health. So I'm going to say this team is nasty. I'm going to say it. Their defense is very underrated, and they might be top 3 in the league, in my opinion. This Jim Schwartz is one of the best to ever do it on the defensive side of the ball, former Detroit Lions man. He is a really good play caller on that side of the ball. Nick Chubb just got put on the PUP list. He'll be missing the first 4 games of the year, so that's not good news for the Browns. But thankfully, they've got some guys behind him. Not Chubb level, but at least they've got a few guys. I know, Ben, you'll talk about that. And then you've got guys like Jerry Jeudy coming over from the Broncos. You've got Amari Cooper, who is a little older than Amari Cooper. David Njoku, one of my favorite tight ends in the league, very underrated. So Deshaun Watson led Browns. We'll see. This could be when I said all 4 teams could win the division, I meant it. If this defense plays to their level and the offense with Watson is healthy, they can do this. So I like this team. Their D is nasty. Their offense has potential, but I like the Cleveland Browns. We'll see what happens when we do the predictions in just a second.
Ooh. I got a phrase for the Cleveland Browns, and it's simply, can you punch back? Y'all fought back last year, and it was beautiful to see. We're gonna see if y'all can punch back next year because these games could come down to the wire. Deshaun Watson, I haven't seen you lately. The health of Deshaun Watson, right? Got a contract like I've never seen as a player that was out of football like 2 years. Hasn't really been on the field since. He got
that would be nice to get paid like that.
Listen, whoever Deshaun Watson's agent is, y'all are some of the best agents in the country. The fact that you can negotiate for a guy that hasn't been on the football field literally almost 4 years now. You mentioned Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is one of the most underrated running backs and players in the national. When he is healthy, he might be the best back in the league. When he is healthy, just check the numbers. The numbers online. I know Jerome Ford going fill in for him nice. You mentioned Amari Cooper. You mentioned Jerry Jeudy. You mentioned Elijah Moore, former Jet. You talk about David Njoku. They are loaded on offense. But you talk about Myles Garrett, reigning defensive player of the year is Darius Smith, Devin Bush, Jordan Hicks, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit. They don't, you talk about Greg Newsome, Juan Thornhill. They are loaded. Here's the thing about the Browns. The Browns wake up every day and know, man, we got to deal with the Steelers twice. We got to deal with the Bengals twice. We got to deal with the Ravens twice. So you got Lamar Jackson twice. You got a healthy Joe Burrow twice. And I don't know if it's going to be Russell Wilson or Justin Fields when you're talking about the Bengals. But you're talking about rock-solid organizations. Here's the thing about the Browns. Do you want to be a bottom feeder or not? You see what last year did for you? This is when Deshaun Watson was hurt. Joe Flacco stepped in and did a great job. They go to the playoffs. Do you want to start building a real culture in the within that organization, or are you guys a flash in the pan? I get it. Same old Browns, right? Not last year. So for me, this comes down to who do we want to be? Do we want to be a team that shows flashes every 4 or 5 years, or do we want to show consistency year in and year out? Because those other teams I mentioned, even with Joe Burrow being hurt, the Steelers, I think under Mike Tomlin, they've never had a losing season. Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP, and like I say, Joe Cool. I mean, he just ain't added a Super Bowl or a regular season MVP yet. I think is on the way. I think the Browns will have to decide if, once again, they want to punch back. If they do, it might be bloody at the end of the season, but they might spoil some seasons for some teams.
And then wrapping up with the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8.5 is their over/under, and this team is I'm going to say dinosaur for this team, and I'm going to explain what my word is for dinosaur. This team drafted Ben Roethlisberger back in the day, and after that, they haven't really had a good quarterback since he is retired. I mean, Ben, there was a guy named Duck Hodges who is now selling insurance, who was their quarterback at one time. For those who may not be into the weeds of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, Duck Hodges was a quarterback for this team. They've got George Pickens, nasty physical receiver. He is the man. Pat Freiermuth's very underrated tight end who I might be taking in my fantasy draft. There's a pro tip for anyone out there listening who wants fantasy advice. Take Pat Freiermuth. Very good. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, very good as well. Both two double-head monsters, though Harris' option was not picked up, so that kind of a contract year for him now. We'll see how he performs. T.J. Watt is a man amongst boys on the other side of the ball. My alma mater, UNC Charlotte, Alex Highsmith, that man, I know him. He's actually a pretty good guy. I'm very proud of his success. I've seen him rise literally from the ashes when they picked him, and he has just done really well in the league. So I'm personally very proud for my guy Alex Highsmith there in the Steel City. So Mike Tomlin, like you said, never had a losing season. Let's see where it goes for the Steelers this year. But when I say dinosaur, the defense is great, Mike, but it's an offensive league now. And so you've got to be able to score the ball at a consistent rate, and you've got to be able to say, well, if I finish at 9-8 every year, we're not picking in the top 5. We're picking like 11 through 20. Well, that's great, Mike, except you're not going to get a star quarterback at 11 through 20. I mean, you did with Ben Roethlisberger when you picked him at 11, but that was a long time ago. This is 2024 now. So I think the Steelers have got to be out of their dinosaur phase, put on their big boy pants, and take a risk. Take a risk. Go for it. If you lose and have a first winning season under Mike Tomlin, losing the season this year under Mike Tomlin, it's not the end of the world. I promise. It's really not. I mean, it's really not the end of the world.
Yeah. My two words for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are consistently inconsistent. That is them. They are consistent at being inconsistent. And it's for everything you just said, Smitty, and more. You mentioned Ben Roethlisberger, 2004. That was actually my draft. I got drafted in 2004 with Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers, and Larry Fitzgerald. The thing about Ben Roethlisberger, he parked his car, in Heinz Field, and he didn't leave for almost 20 years. Think about that, how consistent that is. You had one guy there for all that time. But Ben Roethlisberger inherited something that Russell Wilson and Justin Fields did not. Ben Roethlisberger had everything around him. The bus, you're talking about that defense, they had, and right. I just think that now, while Mike Tomlin is going to be there, Mike Tomlin is one of only 3 head coaches in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good Lord. I know teams have had 3 head coaches in 3 years. They've only had 3 in the existence. Russell Wilson is going through an identity crisis. Russell Wilson, when asked about his play and in the preseason, he said, "Oh, nothing to worry about. We just got to play better." Russ. Got to come out of fantasy land, man. Yeah, you mad? Yeah, congratulations, right? I get it. Russ. The Denver Broncos gave you almost $40 million to go away. You're on a 1-year deal, a proven deal, with a guy in Justin Fields, who, in my opinion, should be starting. Russell Wilson needs to come to reality and say, "Hey, this is who I am now. I am playing for my football life." Right? I don't care about what you did in Seattle with the Legion of Boom, and you talk about beast mode. Last time we saw you, wasn't much to talk about. Your head coach was literally throwing you under the bus. No pun intended. Yes, George Pickens is one of the best receivers in football, right? Who hasn't made a first-team All-Pro yet. You talk about Van Jefferson. I know Van Jefferson. A lot coming from my alma mater, University of Florida. You talk about Calvin Austin. You talk about Freiermuth behind, in front of Darnell Washington. You talk about Cam Hayward, who's about as consistent as you can be at the interior defensive line position. Patrick Queen coming over from the Ravens. Mika Fitzpatrick, beast at the hybrid safety. And then you talk about Joey Porter Jr. All those names don't mean nothing because none of those guys play quarterback. All those guys I just said, big time players. Russell, last name Wilson. If Russell Wilson can play, decent to above average football, they got to, because what we've seen the last 2 or 3 years, my God,
not it.
Pickett and all that. Listen, no matter who they put in the quarterback the last 3 years, it looked like the same guy with a different, number. It was awful. But because you got Mike Tomlin, he's gonna try to get you right the ship. I believe Russell Wilson starts the season. I think Justin Fields ends the season. But we will see. It is a Pittsburgh Steelers. They aren't allowed to have losing season under Mike Tomlin. But just because you ain't got a losing season don't mean you win enough games getting the playoffs.
Yeah. Let's get to the predictions here. For this division, I've got the Baltimore Ravens winning this division at 12-5. I think Derrick Henry is going to be the difference. Like you said, RPO with Lamar Jackson, just too nasty, too physical, and too deadly. Cincinnati Bengals at 11-6. Next in this division, I think this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and they're going to be nipping at the heels of the Ravens all season long. Joe Burrow will be staying healthy for a full season. Book it right now. Cleveland Browns next at 8-9. I think they just barely missed out on the playoffs. Not 100% this year. The defense is going to just slip just a little bit, but enough just to keep them out of the playoffs. And then finally, I got the Steelers at 7-10. I think they're going to find a way to win 7 games. They are going to be last in the division, though, because it comes down to quarterback play, not going to be consistent enough. And so I've got the Baltimore Ravens winning this division at 12-5.
I got the Steelers going 9-8. I still think they find a way to win 9 games. I just think that at the end of the day, if you got 2 quarterbacks, that means you don't got one. Make a decision. Russell Wilson gonna start it out. He's gonna stick it up. Put Justin Fields back in. I think he finds a way to get you to 9 wins. I got the Bengals going 10-7. I still got them making the playoffs, but I got them going 10-7. Joe Burrow. Listen, when you wait for football for a long time, sometimes your body got to get used to the rhythm of it getting hit again. He is going to get hit. Even with his blonde hair, he is going to get hit. The Browns, 7-10. Deshaun Watson, you are the biggest mystery in football. We haven't seen you. Literally, have not seen you. We see you reporting for training camp, and that's it. That's it. He got to prove me he can go 17 games. Last time he played football, it was still 16 games. That's how long it's been since he played. I got him going 17, and I agree with you. I think the Ravens are going to go 12-5. I think the Ravens have realized this. We don't got to have the best. We want to have the best record in football. Definitely have the best record in the AFC. I think 12-5 is good enough to get it. Maybe 13-4. But I got the Ravens going 12-5. Lamar Jackson having another stellar year. Derrick Henry went from being a rival of the Ravens to a teammate for the Ravens.
Yep.
That's going to be hard to watch. But Tutu is that, he took his talents to Baltimore. I got them Ravens running away with the division at 12-5.
Let's go to the AFC South, your division, Ben, for your time in Tennessee, the bulk of your career. But we won't start with the Titans. I'll give you some time to get your notes ready on them. Let's start with the Indianapolis Colts. 8.5 wins is their over-under. Anthony Richardson, I'm going to let you, being the University of Florida alum, talk about AR, but I love AR. He's just got to stay healthy. But my word for this team is I'm laughing as I say this because there has to do with everything with Anthony Richardson. Dynamic. This team, Jonathan Taylor, you've got Donnie Mitchell from Texas, who they drafted in the first round. He is a explosive guy on the wide receiver position. You've got Michael Pittman, who is very underrated. You have got their tight end, who's escaping my name right now. Jelani Woods, I believe, is there. Mo Ali Cox, who played basketball at VCU, used to live in Richmond. For those of you who don't care where I used to live, but I did used to live there. So I watched Mo Ali Cox at VCU for a little bit of time. This team, very dynamic. If Richardson can stay healthy, Shane Steichen, one of the best in the business on the offensive side of the ball, is their head coach. And then Gus Bradley, their defense just needs to be average, and they are going to go to the playoffs if they can just keep him healthy, AR, and the defense can just be above average, a little bit of average. Is this how I would say for the Indianapolis Colts?
Man, my 2 words for them is run heavy. I mean, they're going to run the ball a lot. Jonathan Taylor, to me, is one of the best running backs in the National Football League when healthy. I mean, getting blocked for by Quentin Nelson. I mean, one of the best interior offensive linemen in the league. You mentioned Donnie Mitchell and Josh Downs and Michael Pittman. The thing about Anthony Richardson is this. Anthony Richardson, 6'4", 245 pounds, ran a 4.4, jumped out the gym, was a freak athlete. That doesn't matter in the NFL. See, I think the hardest thing for Anthony Richardson is to realize, listen, man, to be the guy, you have to prove it week in and week out. Yeah, you look like a great guy when you walk around without your shirt off, but that doesn't matter. I mean, I remember when RG3 came into the league, 6'2", about 215, 220 pounds, was a hurler in college. And you know who ended his career? Hello to nada. A guy that was 6'5", 330 pounds. The National Football League is not a matter of if, it's when. When you get hit, learn to slide. Look, listen, go to Hard Knocks, go to Chicago Bears, go to the episode, with Caleb Williams and the entire quarterback room.
I enjoyed that. The slip and slide, that was great.
Because in the NFL, it's about making it to 17 games. It's not about stacking piling and looking for. We know what you're able to do, but it don't matter. Listen, can't make the club in the tub. You got to be out there. So Anthony Richardson, I know. You are one of the young, exciting quarterbacks in this division. Once again, I ain't seen you in a while. So this is going to be like an extension of your rookie season, even though it's your sophomore season. Find a way to stay healthy. Get the ball out on time. Utilize Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Jelani Woods, right? And and Donnie Mitchell, and find a way to, if there's nothing on third down, throw it away. If you got to scramble, slide. Because guess what? You was only going to get 1 more yard anyway. It ain't worth blowing your shoulder out. So I think, and you talk about that defense with Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner, EJ, Speed, and Zion. Listen, Zaire Franklin has a nice podcast. He be talking trash about everybody on there, Zaire Franklin. But I do like this Colts team. I just think this division might be a little bit too much for him, especially with Anthony Richardson. He got to get out of his head and prove he can actually play for 17 games.
Let's go to the darlings of last year, the Houston Texans at 9.5 wins. Over under. CJ Stroud obviously is the quarterback there, selected after Bryce Young, number 2 overall for the Houston Texans last year. Derek Stingley, who some people believe is the number 1 corner in the league now, out of LSU. You've got Stephon Diggs, who was traded there from Buffalo. You've got Nico Collins, who is very good. You've got Joe Mixon coming over from the Cincinnati Bengals. And you've got a guy named DeMeco Ryans, who I love this guy. Culture, I think, is my word for the Houston Texans, because that was what DeMeco instilled last year. That was the reason they were able to do what they did, was because of the culture that DeMeco Ryans set up for this squad. And then I think this defense is very underrated. I like CJ Stroud's game. I like what they did last year. They're only going to improve this year. But the Texans, I like the culture, and I think they are a very close-knit group, and that does help in the NFL, because not all the teams are close. I know you played in the NFL, Ben. You can say you've been on some teams that were closer than others. But the Texans are a very close-knit group. They care about each other, and that goes a long way throughout the season, whether you're winning or whether you're losing.
Listen, my 3 words, but my 3 words for the Houston Texans: young and hungry. Boy, they really, really young and they really, really good. I mean, you talk about C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson. You know who get to show Will Anderson how to get to the quarterback? Danielle Hunter, a guy that's not talked about enough. That came over. Listen, they used to have, Jonathan Grenard. Jonathan Grenard goes to Minnesota. Minnesota saying, hey, he said, wait a minute, y'all finna pay him? Danielle Hunter comes down to Houston. They just get to switch places. So now Jonathan Grenard can see what the snow looks like because Danielle Hunter get to see what old hot Houston looks like. Jalen Petrie is one of my favorite young safeties in the league. Coming out of Baylor, the guy can flat out play. Here's the thing about the Texans. Texans are ahead of schedule. Offensive rookie of the year, Texans. Defensive rookie of the year, Texans. Right? I mean, what picks were in here? What picks were in the draft? 2 and 3. So the second and third pick in the draft was also offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Here's the thing about the Texans. They want to win for DeMeco Ryans to prove him right. They don't care about proving nobody wrong. They want to prove themselves right. Stephon Diggs to already go along with a receiving core that was nasty. Joe Mixon, sorry, Damian Pierce, former Florida Gator. He's probably going to be number 2 if he works into that zone blocking scheme for them Texans. They're young and they're hungry and they're disrespectful. Because the Houston Texans know that no matter what, they're not the darling of the National Football League. That would go along to the Dallas Cowboys, right? They are a team in the National Football League. They are not one of the darlings. But guess what? They don't care. They saying, hey, man, this show is called Win the Division. And all they care about is win the division. They don't care about no wild cards. They don't care about wait on nobody else. We win the division. You got to come to the dome. And I'm telling you, C.J. Stroud, year 2, got a chance to be an MVP candidate. Ooh, I'm telling you, all the young man do is find a way to get it done. I like what them Texans got going on.
Let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback there. Doug Peterson, the head coach. They lost Calvin Ridley on the defensive side of the ball, or offensive side of the ball, to the Tennessee Titans, but they do gain a Gabe Davis from the Buffalo Bills. And on the defensive side of the ball, it's a very streaky group. I think streaky is not my word, but that defense particularly I think is very streaky. They've got Trayvon Walker, former number 1 overall pick from Georgia, on that side of the ball. They got the kid from Iowa at linebacker, who I cannot remember at this exact time. They have a team that I believe, if Trevor Lawrence can play up to his potential, there's my word for them. Potential. If Trevor Lawrence can play up to his potential, they can be dangerous. But and Doug Peterson's got to put him in position to do so. I love Trevor Etienne and or Travis Etienne. Trevor's still in college. I'm mixing up my Etiennes. It's very easy to do that. Travis Etienne. I do like him at running back. Tank Bigsby from Auburn is also a threat in the background there for the Jaguars too. So Jaguars, they have potential. That's my word there.
Listen, got another phrase. Will Trevor Lawrence please stand up? I don't know who Trevor Lawrence was last year. I don't know who that guy was. I mean, he got his big money. Obviously, he was a franchise guy since he got in town. You mentioned that defense. Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen as one of the best duos in football. People like, they won. Yeah, they had 27 sacks amongst them. That would be 17 for Trayvon Walker. That would be 17. I mean, that would be 10 for Trayvon Walker, 17 and a half, for Josh Allen. The other Josh Allen, not the one that played for Buffalo. This is the one that chases quarterbacks. You talk about, I mean, they go out there and add Eric Armstead coming over from the San Francisco 49ers, Devin Floyd, Tyson Campbell, Andre Cisco, Evan Ingram. Y'all better watch out for this dude. Went over 100 catches last year. First year out of that New York Football Giants system. Brian DeBoer, they missing that boy right now. Here's the thing about the Jags. The Jags, they loaded, man. They loaded. They go into the draft. They add Brian Thomas Jr., another receiver from LSU.
That was a good draft pick.
They are wide receiver you at this point. You mentioned Travis Etienne. You mentioned Tank Bigsby. They go out there and add Gabe Davis. Yeah, that Gabe Davis that used to play for the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, he's now down there with them Jags. And I think I can't remember his name, but receiver that came over from the Ravens. He was like their return guy / slot guy. He's down there with the Jags as well. The Jags got a really, really good coach, Doug Peterson. I think they got a really, really good foundation going. If the real Trevor Lawrence, please stand up. I know he's about to be a dad now. If he has had his baby already, congratulations. If he plays without doing that crazy stuff, the Jags are going to be really, really good.
Devin Duvernay is the man you were thinking of from the Ravens there. Devin Lloyd went to Utah, not Iowa.
And Devin Lloyd is a full man. I cannot pronounce Foyeside Olabu. He came from my He came from my Falcons. Basically, he leads the league in tackles every year, and no one can say his first name or last name. He is African. I will not butcher his name, even though I've already butchered it.
Yeah. And I apologize to Devin Lloyd there. He did go to Utah, not Iowa. I'm thinking
he did go to Utah. He did.
But yeah, Devin Lloyd, I like him at linebacker there for the Jaguars. And then finally rounding out this division is the Tennessee Titans. Ben, I'm just going to keep this one pretty short. You played for the Titans. You played in Nashville. So I'm going to keep this pretty short. They lost Derrick Henry. Will Levis going into his second year. Brian Callahan, the head coach coming from the Cincinnati Bengals as their offensive coordinator last year. His dad, Bill Callahan, who was a Oakland Raiders offensive line guy, and he a lot of other stops in the league, Cleveland Browns, I believe, last year. So he's got a lot of stops in the National Football League, one of the best O-line coaches in the business. They have DeAndre Hopkins. They've got a guy that I don't think gets enough recognition is Jeffrey Simmons at defensive tackle. That guy is very underrated. This team, my word for this team is they are underrated. I think is the Tennessee Titans. I don't know how good they're going to be, but I think they're being not talked about enough. I think they're underrated.
Thing about the Titans is, my friends and them, they spent money. See, this time last year, Rand Carthon didn't have no money to spend. The people's like, hey, man, what's going on with them? This year, they go out there, they get Calvin Ridley. They get Quandre Diggs. They get Jamal Adams, right? I mean, they get L'Jarius Sneed. Yes, that's two-time Super Bowl champion coming from the Kansas City Chiefs, L'Jarius Sneed. You mentioned Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons is the second best defensive tackle in football. Why is he not the best? That would be Chris Jones for the Kansas City Chiefs. Wait a minute. What did they have in common? Both played at Mississippi State. I don't know what the hell going on in Mississippi. But they got some real big men that can push the pack, that can push the pocket and get to the quarterback, right? They got Tony Pollard, right? They got D-Hop, they got Chigwozium, they got Will Levis at quarterback. The jury's still out on Will Levis, right? Everybody keep going back to the Monday Night Football game. They was able to come back and beat the Miami Dolphins. Look, they're going to have the run game. They got D-Hop, right? They got Traylon Burks, who I think right now is going to be able to come into his own because he don't got to be the guy. They got Calvin Ridley and Chiggs. Will Levis, they're going to have to let him throw the football. They cannot coddle him. They got a really, really good defense, as I mentioned, guys like Harold Landry and different guys. If the Titans can find a way to find an identity real fast without Derrick Henry being in the backfield, they got a shot to be real good. If not, it is going to be a long one. But they did spend money in the offseason.
Yeah, so here's how I have this division finishing out. I've got the Texans winning this division once again at 10-7, I think is where they're going to go. That will be the top of the division for the Houston Texans. Coming in second place, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9-8. I think they're going to squeak in to the playoffs barely. I've got the Indianapolis Colts at 8-9. I think just barely missing out. AR does stay mostly healthy, but just missing out with that consistency overall. And then finally, I've got the Tennessee Titans bringing up the rear in the division, and I've got them finishing at 6-11.
Man, I got the Texans at 11-6. I think they're gonna shock a lot of people. I think they're gonna be really, really good because they're gonna have a balance of offense and defense. They're not gonna make CJ Stroud have to win games, even though he can. I see them not taking a step back. I see them saying, "Look, man, we are building a culture, and the only way you build a culture is through winning." I got them going 11-6. The Jags, I got them going 9-8. I mean, I know that Trevor Lawrence was able to get his money. They was able to pay Josh Allen. I know Trayvon Walker's going into year 3, double-digit sacks last year. I just think it's gonna be. Because I got to see Trevor Lawrence be consistent. He's been very inconsistent at this point. I got him going 9-8. My Titans, I got them going 8-9. I got them winning some games. I think that defense will keep them in there. I think that Tony Pollard is a good enough, running back. And listen, D-Hop, Calvin Ridley, Chiggs, and Traylon Burks, they can't find them. Listen, and they even talk about Tyler Boyd. He comes over from Cincinnati. You got a solid – four deep at receiver. You got Tyler Boyd at the running back position with Jeffrey Simmons in that defense. I got him going 8-9. I'm sorry. Listen, I love Anthony Richardson. The only thing that you can get in the NFL is going to help you get better is experience. He don't have a lot of experience. He's gotten hurt, and from what I seen from the preseason, he's still kind of dealing with some nervousness, which is normal. I got him going 7-11, being very competitive, but I don't see him winning a lot of games. If he's going to play in 17 of them, they got to deal with the rookie mistakes that get made in the sophomore season. I got them finishing last in the division at 7-11.
So just to clarify, do you mean 7-10 or 6-11? I'm
sorry. 6-11. I had said that would be 18 games. That would be the 2025 season.
Maybe not that soon, but coming up.
I got 6-11, not 7-11.
Okay, got it. Last division in the AFC before we move on to the NFC. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs, back-to-back Super Bowl champion. Greatness is the word I have for them, just because they've just been great of the last 2 seasons. They have won back-to-back Super Bowls. You can't say enough just how hard that is. Mahomes and Andy Reid, the coach there, they will be doing something that Tom Brady never did. They're going to be attempting to go back. Tom Brady never won 3 in a row for the Super Bowls. We'll see if they can do just that. They have a lot of people over there at the receiver position now. They just signed Juju Smith-Schuster back today. Transaction there. Isaiah Pacheco is the guy at running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire from LSU is backing him up. And then they've got another guy, Carson Steele, I want to say his name is, who is they might just have found another gem at running back. Andy Reid loves to do that. Not sure if Kadarius Toney, our former Gator, is going to make this team. There's rumors he might not be making the roster. We'll see about that. Justin Watson at receiver is another underrated guy that they have over there. Travis Kelce, obviously, the buck stops with him at tight end. He's dating some person named Taylor Swift. I don't know who that is really. But anyway, so this team, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, greatness is what I see from them. Obviously, I'll just say it. I have them winning the division. I'm just going to go say it before I discuss the other teams. I think it would be foolish to not have them winning this division. But we'll keep going through the other teams before I say the exact record.
Yeah, man, Kansas City, it's never dynasty. I mean, they chasing greatness. I mean, the fact that Travis Kelce, everybody knew that the rumors last year that he was gonna retire, but then he started dating Taylor Swift. She started coming to games. Rating starts going up. I mean, Andy Reid saying, "Look, man, I mean, you want to, come back for another year? We'll give you some money in your contract." Listen, the thing about it is, this time last year, people saying Kansas City Chiefs receivers. I think they led the league in drops last year. How did they end the season? Oh, they won the division. They won the Super Bowl because you got Patrick Mahomes, boy. Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to win you games. People say, "Oh, I can't win without Tyreek Hill." I'm sorry, I can win without Tyreek Hill. Why? Because there are certain people that's joined at the hip. When it was Jerry Rice, right? And then you talk about, I mean, he had, he went out there, he had Joe Montana, right? You talk about Gronk, he went out there and had Tom Brady, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes to join to the hip. I know we got Chris Jones on defense and McDuffie and those guys. I mean, listen, Nick Bolton, he hits everything that moves the linebacker. If it moves, he hits it, right? This guy could have easily been the MVP of one of these Super Bowls. The one thing about Kansas City is this. You got to prove them you can beat us in a one-game move-on tournament. Regular season, you might get the best of us. Didn't they lose the first game of the year against Detroit? People going crazy. Oh, my God, the dynasty is over. No, they didn't. Dynasty wasn't over, right? Dynasty just beginning. I mean, I'm not going to give the record yet, but I got Kansas City win the division for the simple fact that, listen, Andy Reid, boom. Eric Bieniemy's not there, no problem. Because you got Patrick Mahomes, boy, you got Travis Kelce, you got Chris Jones, you got that defense, you got that atmosphere. Dynasty. Going for the 3-3.
Just to be consistent, for those watching and who might be commenting later on, I did not say the over-under for Tennessee earlier. They are 5.5 is their official over-under. So just to apologies on that one. So that is the Tennessee Titans over-under. So now moving back to the Chiefs, their over-under is 11.5, who we just mentioned for them. Next, let's talk about the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix is the starting rookie quarterback, first one since John Elway for the Broncos. Sean Payton in his second season after they dumped Russell Wilson to the curb and all the money that he was making. They've got Cortland Sutton over there at receiver still. Jerry Jeudy got shipped off in the offseason. We'll see if Javonte Williams can come back to life at running back. Audric Estime from Notre Dame, their third-round pick at running back. I really like him. I think he can be a difference maker at the running back position. I saw Tim Patrick might be getting cut if he's not traded. That's unfortunate to hear from the Broncos. He is someone coming back from back-to-back ACL tears, and always rooting for guys like that. This defense lost a lot over the years, including Josie Jewell going over to the Carolina Panthers. Not to mention Justin Simmons. They did not re-sign him. He signed with Atlanta a bit ago. So this defense is a little bit of a work in progress. We'll see what the Broncos can do. But for me, from this season in this edition, I've got the word that describes him as again, I laugh as I say some of these jokes because these are just words that come off the top of my head. It's just all it's all there. I have got the word is mile high because that's just what I got. I didn't really have a word for them. Mile high is where that's where they play it, the mile high.
I mean, listen. My word for the Denver Broncos. Listen. No tradition. They used to have a great tradition. Now they don't have a tradition. You know why? Sean Payton is the head coach. I think he's still living in the dark ages, over there with the New Orleans Saints. Bo Nix is the starting quarterback. I heard something that said Jared Stidham, the backup, comes out and tells the media, I'm a starting quarterback in this league. That's not what I want to hear when you're supposed to be mentoring, the young guy. And I don't know if that's going to lead to some type of quarterback controversy. I mean, you mentioned Cortland Sutton. I mean, been making plays since he came out. Came out of college. Patrick Surtain, top 5 cornerback in the league. The thing about it, the reason why those guys that I mentioned, you don't really know nobody else. Remember when you knew everybody on the Denver Broncos? You don't know anybody on it now. Everybody, best players are gone, or you shitting on the other places. Sean Payton thinks that he knows what's best for the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl. Hasn't been back to playoffs since. Hasn't been back to the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. Usually, I know about Super Bowl hangovers, but we talking about, man, you ain't even making the playoffs. The playoffs didn't even make the playoffs. I feel bad for Bo Nix, a guy starting out of Auburn, ended up, over there with Dan Lanning and Oregon Ducks, ended up becoming a first-round pick. I think the guy's got talent. Doesn't matter how much talent you got, you ain't got nobody to throw to. Yep. You don't got nobody to throw to. That's not his fault. I see him starting the season. I end the season. I said Jared Stidham, and I'm not going to give you the record, but listen, like I say, man, no tradition. And that's a person that grew up loving the Denver Broncos, no tradition right
now. Los Angeles Chargers. Oh, and I'm sorry. The record for the Denver Broncos over and under is 5.5 wins for the Denver Broncos. Moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers, 8.5 is their over under. Cursed is kind of my word for the Chargers. They seem to deal with injuries every stinking year. They hired some guy named Jim Harbaugh coming off a national championship at the University of Michigan. So he's someone I think who can turn them around pretty fast. Ladd McConkey, first-round pick out of Georgia. He is a slot guy. Reminds me of Julian Edelman. He can just get open and someone who, if he can stay healthy, again, injury being the key word there. They lost Mike Williams and Keenan Allen at the receiver position. They lost Austin Eckler going to the Commanders. So they lost a lot on the offensive side of the ball, but then they gained guys like DJ Chark. Bradley Bozeman, center from the Carolina Panthers, came over to protect him. Justin Herbert, who is dealing with plantar fasciitis. That's not good news to start the season. So Herbert, again, you see why injuries is the theme, and cursed is the word that I said. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, they've got Khalil Mack, they've got Joey Bosa, they got Derwin James, they got some boys on that side of the ball. But can they stay healthy in this new scheme that Mike mentor for the Chargers coming over from Michigan, the defensive coordinator there with Harbaugh? Can they get a fast start in year one under this new regime and bring the Chargers back to the playoffs?
My phrase for the Chargers, for what? Like we the thing about the Chargers is they're the biggest head scratchers when it comes to sports for this reason. As you mentioned, used to be loaded, right? No Mike Williams, right? Got rid of him. I mean, they obviously want Keenan Allen becoming the all-time leading receiver over Antonio Gates. You talk about Joey Bosa. I mean, you talk about Joey Bosa. You talk about Khalil Mack. You talk about Derwin James. You talk about Asante Samuel Jr. Who cares? What are they gonna do? The most disappointing team every year since Justin Herbert has came into the league has been the Chargers. All we need is Harbaugh, because Harbaugh can call plays. He don't make plays. He ain't out there playing. I saw him doing the Camp Confidential, whatever they're doing up there with the Chargers. The Chargers are the Mets of LA. They're the little brother. Yeah, you got the Rams and you got the Chargers, right? The Chargers in San Diego, no one cares until they win to LA. So no one really cares now. If they didn't care in San Diego, they sure don't care in LA. Love Justin Herbert. Hope he comes back healthy. I hope he gets a start of the season. Nothing against Justin Herbert. He's a stat compiler. He's going to have a great stats. No wins. It don't mean a thing if you can't win the games. Sorry, Justin. Sorry. Yeah.
Las Vegas Raiders are wrapping up the AFC. Their over-under is 6.5. The silver and black, my word for them is pirate, because, the Raiders, they move like pirates. That's what they feel. It feels like they kind of had one an eye patch on their eyes over the last few seasons, because it's been hard to watch. If you're a Raiders fan, you've kind of wanted to just watch with one eye and maybe close the other one just in case something bad happens. That kind of seems to be the theme there. Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell are the two quarterbacks. And again, If you have two quarterbacks, you have none, as they say. So Gardner Minshew, though, is the official starter. Zamir White is the starting running back. Former Georgia kid Josh Jacobs is gone to the Packers. Devontae Adams, they have him, though. He is good at receiver. He's one of the best in the league, obviously. Christian Wilkins coming over from Miami on the defensive side of the ball. Patrick Graham, who I think is a very underrated defensive coordinator, formerly of the New York Giants. This team plays in Vegas, a state with no income tax, and Mark Davis is the cheapest owner in the league for a reason. He doesn't his fiscal impact is not as good as some of the other owners, and I think some of the players know that. And so they've found it hard to get players over the years, not because of the Raiders brand itself, but because of Mark Davis and the history of the Raiders. But let's see what the Raiders can do this year. 6.5 again is their over.
Super duper impressed with Gardner Minshew in the career he's able to be carved out for himself. I mean, he's a guy that came over, got drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, he was able to step in as a rookie because, wasn't expected to step in as a rookie, but was able to go out there and get it done. You mentioned Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, a name to remember. The greatest tight end in SEC history, no doubt about it. The young man was lights out for, the Georgia Bulldogs are going to miss him. You talk about Trey Tucker and Jacoby, and Jacoby Myers. Here's the thing about the Raiders, right? Raiders, best. Oh, listen, it's the best uniforms in the NFL. Don't come at me about it. And it's silver and black. Smitty did say it's not black and silver. It's silver and black. You cannot mess up silver and black. And the Raiders still mess it up because they don't win. God, it's all. Listen, and what hurts the Raiders the most is not the fact that they aren't competitive, right? They aren't. Antonio Pierce. Love the fact that they hired from within. I think he is a great coach. You got to deal with Patrick Mahomes, boy. You're not beating him. It's going to be rough. But Brock Bowers, Devontae Adams, you talk about Jacoby Myers, the defense, should be good, this year. I mean, they've gone through a lot of changes on defense, but it's the Las Vegas Raiders. They're in Vegas. And Mark Davis, for those who don't know, cares nothing about image. I mean, if you've ever seen his haircut, he don't care. He puts a hat on, they cut around the hat, and then he takes the hat off and says, all right, thank you. He saves money. Saves too much money, in my opinion. But, as a person that got to play with the Raiders and I got to play under his daddy, Al Davis, but the Jets win, baby. Hey, man, those are memories I will hold on to forever.
So in this division, I've got the Chiefs winning at 12-5 to wrap up the AFC. The Chargers will come in second at 9-8 for me. And then I've got the Broncos winning 7 games, finishing 7-10. And then I've got the Raiders finishing it out at 6-11 to bring up the rear here.
I got Kansas City going 12-5 as well. I got the Chargers going 9-8. I got the Raiders going 8-9. And Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, I got them going 5-12. I much of the same when it comes to Denver Broncos. It's going to be a long time before they find a way to get that tradition back, that winning culture back. Sorry, Broncos. Sean Payton, Bo Nix, come on, man. That's not a match made in heaven.
Let's go over to the NFC now. This is the NFC National Football Conference. Let's start with the NFC East like we did with the AFC. Dallas Cowboys, the America's team. At least that's what some people call them anyway. Dak Prescott has a new contract, maybe. Not yet. We'll see. CeeDee Lamb, he just signed a new 4-year deal today, $136 million. You've got Micah Parsons, who's up next year. Dan Quinn, they lost him to the Washington Commanders, a division rival. Mike McCarthy on the hot seat this year. In my opinion, I think they've got to win a certain number of games. And for those of you listening, yes, we've gone an hour. I'm going to try to move a little bit quicker for the NFC for those who may not be wanting to view a 2-hour podcast. So Dallas Cowboys, they're over under as I get my official DraftKings up here. 10.5 is over under for the Dallas Cowboys. I think they will take a step back this year. I do not have them winning the division. I will go ahead and say that now, but I'll reveal the record later.
The Dallas Cowboys, listen, the most talked about team in professional sports. Somebody's talking about them right now. They talk about them all day. CeeDee Lamb skips the entire training camp to then get a 4-year, $138 million deal. I think $100 million guaranteed, $38 million signing bonus. He's worth every cent, has been lights out since he stepped in there. Micah Parsons, look, plays linebacker, plays whatever you need. Could play safety if you need him to. The kid has been lights out since he got out of Penn State. Him and DeMarcus Lawrence are holding down the fort. Here's the thing about the Cowboys, though. All sizzle, no steak. I can smell it, but I can't. I don't see nothing on the plate. Like, where is it at? Oh no, we just we just put a little season on that. And it's not the Cowboys' fault until their owner / GM / does more interviews than players. Jerry Jones gets out the way. They're not winning anything. I'm gonna say that they're not. Nobody wants to see the Dallas Cowboys lose more than me. Not because I hate the Dallas Cowboys. It's just, hey man, get a GM. Talking about can't nobody do it better than me. Get out of here, man. But the Dallas Cowboys, hey man, shout out to CeeDee Lamb getting his money, man. He got his money. Winning record. Listen, if they don't want your presence, just show them how much you need in your absence. Got that bread. Shout out to CD.
Let's go over to the Washington Commanders, where Dan Quinn is now the head coach, formerly of the Dallas Cowboys, as I just mentioned. They got on the offensive side of the ball, Jaden Daniels from LSU, the number 2 overall draft pick. Austin Eckler came over from the Chargers. They got Terry McLaurin, one of the most underrated receivers in the entire football league. On the defensive side of the ball, they still have Daron Payne. They still have Jonathan Allen. They've got Frankie Louvu from the Carolina Panthers, who I absolutely love. I think he's going to be a ball hawk. He's going to have that Micah Parsons role in the Dan Quinn defense. This team, for me, they could be sneaky. This is my that's my word for them, is they could be sneaky this year. And then for Dallas Cowboys, I realized I don't think I said a word for them. I don't think I did. America's team. It was my phrase for them. So anyway, sneaky Washington Commanders.
The Washington Commanders, man, I like that word sneaky, man. I think they're gonna be exciting. Jaden Daniels, if you haven't seen him play football, listen, nothing really bothers the kid. I mean, he is silky. His game is silky smooth. Not the biggest guy you ever seen. So I think they're gonna have to protect him. I mean, you mentioned Scary Terry, but I mean, Scary Terry is like one of the best, most underrated receivers. Here's a person nobody's talking about for that offense. Zach Ertz. Yeah, Zach Ertz is still in the league, playing for the Commanders. You talk about Payne. You talk about the law office of Payne. And Allen coming. Both guys playing from the Alabama. Long line of great players. Here's the thing about the Commanders. Just real similar to the Denver Broncos, there is no identity there. It's not the team. Look, you go from the Redskins to the Washington football team. Everybody's waiting in suspense to see. You're the Commanders. The Commanders sounds like, a Marvel's character. It doesn't sound like an NFL football team. But for me, listen, they're all black uniforms, a really, really nice, very, very underrated color scheme. They're going to be exciting. Won't win as many games as I think they should, but they'll be very, very exciting in 2024.
The Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts led them to a 2022 Super Bowl appearance last year. Not as good. Nick Sirianni, another coach, I think, is on the hot seat. Their over-under, as I get back to my sheet here, their over-under is 10.5 for the Philadelphia Eagles for their over-under. On the defense side of the ball, they have got Cooper DeJean, their draft pick, Davion Mitchell from Toledo. They've got James Bradbury moving over to safety. They still have Darius Slay at the cornerback position. They have got Jordan Davis. They have the guy that is escaping me from Georgia right now, who they drafted.
Jalen Carter.
Thank you, Jalen Carter. They've got A.J. Brown. They've got Cam Jurgens, who will be replacing Chase and Kelsey. He is the official replacement. They still have Lane Johnson over there. They still have Devonta Smith.
They just got Jahan Dotson from the freaking Commanders. They just got him in a trade.
And they just got him too. So they are loaded, is my word for the Eagles. They are loaded.
Listen, the Eagles are scary. We talk about Jahan Dotson, right? We talk about AJ Brown. We talk about Devonta Smith, right? We talk about the fact that they got a ghoster. At the freaking tight end. Go hurt. How you saying that? Go dirt. I'm sorry. But what is this other guy they got? They got this guy. What is his name? They got Saquon Barkley from the freaking Giants. Really? Saquon to go with that offense that was already.
I saved that one for you.
You talk about Jordan Davis. You talk about Jalen Carter. Listen, here's a guy that I think is going to light it up this year. You remember Devin White out of LSU that was over there with Tampa? He signed a 1-year deal. But here is the guy that's like I think gonna make the whole defense better. We talked about guys that was Darius Slay, big play Slay. They bring back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Remember him that led the league in picks a couple of years ago, and then go spend a year with with the Detroit Lions that came back. He is the heart and soul of the team, the heart and soul of the defense. This is all I would say about Philadelphia. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, y'all need to get y'all relationship together. let me tell you something. You got to keep a family business in-house. That stuff should be getting out. I think Nick Sirianni is built to be a Philadelphia Eagles coach. Jalen Hurts built to be a new Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. But keep your business in-house. Y'all are scary. Y'all afraid. Y'all are the official Freddy Cougars of football. It's gonna be rough for anybody that play this year.
New York Giants to round out this division. I've got underwhelming is my word to use for the New York Football Giants, as they say. For those Giant fans there, 6.5 is the over/under there. Brian Burns coming over in a trade from the Carolina Panthers is their big acquisition on defense. Kayvon Thibodeau alongside him, Dexter Lawrence. On the defense side of the ball. On offense, we know what it is. Daniel Jones has got to produce this year, or he might be out of a job. Brian Daboll, some people think he's on the hot seat. We'll see there. You got to replace Saquon Barkley, as you said, at the running back position. They've got Malik Neighbors from LSU, their first-round draft pick, who is a stud. He should help Daniel Jones for sure. They still have Darius Slayton at the wide receiver position. And this team, though, with the Hard Knocks, I've been struggling watching some of those Hard Knocks episodes. It's hard to – that access is a lot. And there's a lot of stuff I don't think they wanted to have on that show for all 32 teams to see. And so underwhelming is my word for the New York Giants because I just don't think they have enough talent to do anything.
Listen, Daniel Jones. That is my word. Daniel Jones. You paid Daniel Jones. You chose Daniel Jones right over Saquon Barkley. You let Saquon Barkley hit the running back market like he's all right. What? I know you got Devin Singletary in there. We'll see. Malik Neighbors. I heard some great things coming out of camp about him. You mentioned the Brian Burns coming over. From the Carolina Panthers, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, another big time interior defensive lineman. Here's the thing about the New York Football Giants. Y'all picked the wrong time to be average. Defense is going to make life tough on all these offenses, whether it's in division or out of the division. Daniel Jones is your quarterback. Daniel Jones, if you want to know everything you need to know about him, they were playing in Houston, Texas. He was getting sacked, coming out of the end zone. He just threw the ball up. It got picked off by Jalen Preacher for a touchdown. And Brian DeBoe's face said it all. When they kept saying, if Jalen Daniels was there, we would have took him. And they said if Drake May was there, we would have took him. If Caleb Williams was there, that means they don't want the quarterback they got. They got to deal with him because they're paying him. That's why you can't pay a quarterback because he had one good season. This ain't like a defensive end that went from 2 sacks to 5 sacks to 10. He had one good season and you paid him. You get what you pay for, and unfortunately for the New York Football Giants, it's going to be a long year. Because Daniel Jones might look like Eli Manning. He do not play like him.
No, he does not. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles in a minor shocker, I think, winning this division at 11-6 is going to be my official record for them. I've got Dallas at 10-7 coming in second place. I thought really heavily about the Commanders because I think Jaden Daniels is going to play really well as a rookie. But I have them at 7-10. I almost went 8-9, but I'm going to say 7-10 officially for the Commanders. And then I've got the Giants at 5-12.
We literally identical. You just said 11-6 for the Eagles, 10-7 for the Cowboys, 7-10 for the Commanders, 5-12. For the Giants. Clever minds obviously thinking alike. Listen, that's why he's submitted. That's why I'm being true. This is winning the division. And when you 5-12, that's not winning the division. That's just being in the division.
Yes. Let's go to the NFC North. Green Bay Packers cheeseheads is my word for them because they really are cheeseheads. Their fans wear the cheesehead hat. 10.5 is the over/under. Jordan Love, second full year, I think, starting now?
Yeah,
second full year coming up. Matt LaFleur, one of the best play callers in the league. They've got the 5-headed monster at receiver because they don't really have a number one receiver, which is okay with Jordan Love. They have Devontae Wicks. They've got Romeo Doubs. They've got Christian Watson. I'm forgetting 2 of the other names at this exact moment, but they've got Josh Jacobs coming over from the Raiders. Aaron Jones departed to go to the rival Vikings. They've got on defensive side of the ball, Rashawn Gary. They have got the kid is also escaping my name right now at linebacker, who is very good. I think Preston Smith, who I believe is still on their team, if I'm not mistaken. And then
the linebacker you think about is Quay Walker.
Thank you, Quay Walker. Yes, thank you. From Georgia, and they've got Eric Stokes back there, corner, also from Georgia as well. So this team, I think, is going to be a toss-up to win the division, but they are a scary good team. I think their potential is through the roof, but cheeseheads that they are.
I think. What would I say? Listen. what would I say about these Green Bay Packers? I could say disruptors because nobody saw Jordan Love being as good as he was his first year under center. But when you think about it, that's kind of similar to what Aaron Rodgers was when he took over for Brett Favre. They groomed guys and put them in. Here's the thing about it, but they treat now Jordan Love the same way they treated Aaron Rodgers when he was there. What do they say about Aaron Rodgers? Get us some help, get us some help, get us some help. They're talking about at the receiver position. You got a bunch of guys that aren't household names, but good enough to go out there and get open to Jordan Love. They've already earned the confidence, built the confidence of him. Rashad Gary, a guy that I spent a lot of time, covering when I was living up there in the New Jersey, New York area. A guy that was really, went to Michigan, was able to sign a big time deal, a first round pick. Very, very happy for the young man, Quay Walker, as you mentioned. Zaire Alexander. Listen, one of the best young quarterbacks in the National Football League of Charlotte. North Carolina native. Listen, kind of like rough around the edges a little bit. But here's the thing about the Green Bay Packers will go as Jordan Love goes. He's gonna make a huge. He's ahead of schedule, just like a C.J. Stroud. He finally got to play, took him to the playoffs. Did you see what he did to Dallas in the playoffs? Just click on Dallas versus Green Bay in the play. It got ugly on the road for them Dallas Cowboys. But Jordan Love, listen, signed a big deal. You got to pay him if you want to keep him around. I don't know if he's earned a contract. As quarterbacks, they get their money. But I think they would go as Jordan Love goes.
Let's move to the Detroit Lions. One step of the Super Bowl last year. They fell to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. Jared Goff is their quarterback. They have got Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL. He did get paid. T.J. Hawkinson, who came over from the Vikings a few years back. They've got Dan Campbell, who's biting kneecaps all over the place. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, who is going to be in the Pro Bowl, I think, this year. On defense, they've got Aiden Hutchinson at defensive end. They've got Brian Branch at the safety from Alabama, great draft pick last year. They've got Jack Campbell at linebacker. They've got so many pieces there. This team is also loaded, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to steal one of yours. This team is hungry. I think they are hungry to get back to the NFC Championship game and prove that last year was not a fluke. They are not the same old Lions. The Lions, as I let you take over here, Troupe, the Lions over-under has my page. There we go. 10.5 is the over-under for the Lions.
Ooh, I mean, listen, my three words for the Detroit Lions: old school football. Boy, they come to hit you. They come to hit you off. That's whether on offense or defense. I mean, I'm really, when you start talking about Jared Goff having a resurrection to his career, I mean, obviously he switched sides, going from the West Coast, to the East Coast, coming over here to the Detroit Lions. Somebody said, listen, what St. Brown said, he said, look, man, I want to win a Super Bowl with Detroit. It's different. Never won a Super Bowl. Only thing they ever been to a Super Bowl. It's one of those things, Ryan. It's like, hey, man, people always say, hey, did you play in the NFL? Yeah. Did you win a Super Bowl? Yeah. Then they say who? Right? Just imagine they say with the Detroit Lions. You won a Super Bowl with Detroit? You've never heard that, thus far. But you talk about Aiden Hutchins, you talk about Alex Anzalone. The one thing about it, man, they are the heart and soul of Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell still looks like he can go out there and play. Dan Campbell, if you watched him in a year ago, you watched him in Hard Knocks, he was saying, look, man, we ain't the same. Look, I want you to have grit, man. I want you guys to go out there and just scratch and claw and scratch and claw and scratch and claw. And that's what they do. I mean, look, they had San Francisco on the ropes, but that's the difference in a team that's used to winning and a team that got to get used to winning. But, I mean, they old school football players, man. St. Brown, if you want to see him play as a football player, just watch him block. Forget all those receivers who went over him. He could probably tell you what school they went to, what round they went to, what number they went to. But shout out to them Detroit Lions. Listen. I mean, I just think that for me, I just like watching football teams that know who they are, embrace who they are, and they're gonna give you everything they got week in and week out.
Minnesota Vikings are my next club here. J.J. McCarthy, the rookie quarterback they selected in the draft, they did lose him to a season-ending injury on the knee, which is unfortunate. 6.5 is their DraftKings over/under. Kevin O'Connell, one of the best play callers, some call in the business. Some people call him the tall Sean McVay. Aaron Jones coming back over from the Packers, or I shouldn't say back over, coming over from the Packers. They've got Justin Jefferson, who's trying to stay healthy this year, number one receiver in the league, paid-wise, financially, but I personally think he's the number one receiver in the league in my book. T.J. Hawkinson at tight end. They've got Jordan Addison, who's also underrated, second-year player. I think he's going to do good. You mentioned earlier Jonathan Greenard coming back for the Houston Texans on defense. Lewis Seen, the safety from the second-year safety, who I think they're going to be starting him this year. They've got a lot of pieces on the defensive side of the ball. Brian Flores does a good job over there. But this team, Purple Rain, is my Prince phrase for this team, Purple Rain. This team, though, I will go on record and say it. I think they're going to finish fourth in the division, not because I don't think they're good, but I think because this division is very competitive, and they might be the fourth. I think if you collect all our fourth-place teams throughout our entire prediction here, I think Minnesota will finish with the best record of them all. They are going to be the best fourth-place team in the entire league.
I mean, listen, I'm gonna call them. You know what they actually in there? They're the purple people eaters. They better be on defense because I think that offense is gonna go through some strides only because I mean, Sam Darnold's probably gonna end up being the starter. You talk about Justin Jefferson. You talk about Aaron Jones coming over there. You talk about Jordan Addison. Former Blitnikoff winner who started off at Pitt, went over there to USC to get the ball thrown to him from Caleb Williams. The thing about the Vikings, all right. The Vikings are a really, really good football team, really, really good coach football team. It's just that they just don't get wins. It's almost like Justin Jefferson. He gets a lot of stats, not a lot of touchdowns. A lot of catches, a lot of yards, not a lot of touchdowns. And that's kind of like Minnesota. That's Minnesota's identity at this point. I mean, look, whenever you got a quarterback that just came out of college in the first round and you look at him to be the starter, he gets hurt, and all of a sudden you got to scramble. Sam Darnold was a former number 3 overall pick. He was number 3 overall, right? He's already on another team. I mean, and nobody really wants to play for the Jets. So, I mean, he got about the Jets. It's not like we didn't do him a favor. But I think Minnesota, you mentioned Jonathan, you talk about Jonathan Bullard, 2 former Florida Gators starting on defense at defensive end for them purple people eaters. But I think for Minnesota, they are going to finish last in the division, but it's not like they're not going to be competitive in the division.
Correct. Yep. And then we've got rookie is my Chicago Bears phrase here because they've got number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams, number 9 overall pick Rome Odunze from the University of Washington. Caleb Williams, obviously with USC, the fighting Trojans. Chicago's 8.5 is their win total. I'm betting the under, folks, and it's not because I don't think Caleb Williams is good. It's because I think he's going to learn. He's going to get humbled his rookie year. I know the situation for him is really ideal, might be the best ever for a rookie quarterback coming in. But it's still the National Football League, and he's going to take his lumps, and he's going to have to learn how to play not behind a fancy play caller like Lincoln Riley. You've got Matt Eberflus, a defensive-minded head coach. For a lot of these offensive-minded coaches they set up these rookie quarterbacks to do well, and that Bo Nix, I believe, is the only quarterback that has a offensive-minded coach who's going to be starting. So Caleb Williams and the team, I think they're going to have a solid year, but I think it's going to be a little lower win total than most people think. But I think for a rookie, Caleb will do really well. You got Jalen Johnson on the defensive side of the ball. You've got, I mentioned Keenan Allen coming over from the Chargers as well. Matt Eberflus, the defensive side of the ball, they're going to be flying over there. They got Montez Sweat from the Bears in that trade last year for the Commanders. Coming over to the Bears. So I've got a rookie is my word for the Chicago Bears.
My words for the Chicago Bears is perception versus reality. The perception of it is they are, you got DJ Moore, you got Rome Odunze, you got Keenan Allen, you got DeAndre Swift, you talk about Caleb Williams, you talk about TJ Evans, Teron Evans. Jalen Johnson is one of the best cornerbacks not talked about in the National Football League. He is locked down. Here's the thing, though. A lot of times when you're on Hard Knocks, it's because you want to get people familiar with who's going to be, under the center. They've never had a 4,000-yard passer. It's something that Nick Saban, came in and told the head man. He said, listen, you got to let the rookie just be a rookie. You're putting so much on him, man. He is not the savior. He is just the current. The last time the Bears were relevant and went to the Super Bowl, old sexy Rexy Grossman was there playing against who? Peyton Manning down there in Miami against them Colts. The thing about the Bears is, right, once again, they're too great of a franchise to just be mediocre, just middle of the road, right? Justin Fields is no longer there. He's moved on. He's moved on, right, to Pittsburgh. Now they bring in Caleb Williams. They give him Keenan Allen. DJ Moore signs his deal, a former Carolina Panther. By the way, you start talking about what this team can be. I think it's all perception. The reality of it is he's still a rookie. He's going to have growing pains. And one of his top receivers, Romaduze, he's a rookie. Right,
and I didn't mention DJ Moore either, a former Carolina Panther, who they got for the Bryce Young trade.
You got Montez Sweat and those guys on defense. I mean, you got a really, really good defense. I think the defense for the Bears are going to be really good, but they're going to have to carry the load until Caleb Williams kind of get his feet wet. I know on Hard Knocks he said, "I don't get nervous." Sure, you don't, Caleb. You was on the sideline of USC crying, not because you don't love the game, but because you do. It's okay to show your nerves and vulnerability in real time, but don't tell me you don't get nervous. You play football for a living. Everybody gets nervous. Stop playing.
Yeah, and DJ Moore is the stud for the Bears and one overall.
Yes. Biggest highest paid player in franchise history, and he's worth every cent. Shout out DJ Moore.
Only the player to get first 10 years of their only NFL player to get first 10 years of their career guaranteed. So that is some first player ever to do that. Okay, I've got predicted order here. I've got the Packers, the Lions, winning this division at 11-6. I've got the Packers right behind them at 10-7. I've got the Detroit Lions the Chicago Bears rather at 8-9, and then I've got the Minnesota Vikings at 7-10. Now, my prediction earlier, I still stand by that. These record predictions are just my first, kind of phase. This is my current predictions as of now. But by the end of the year, I still think the Vikings are going to be the best fourth place team in the entire league.
Listen, I got the Bears at 7-10. I think they're gonna win some games with the Rick. I think you're gonna go through some growing pains. I got the Vikings at 6-11. Look, once again, if JJ McCarthy was supposed to be your guy, Sam Darnold is your backup. Sam Darnold was a backup for a reason. He can get hot, but he's hot and cold. I got the Packers at 10-7. I think that they're a good team this year. I think Jordan Love kind of take a step back a little bit, only because people are gonna figure out his game because they got some tape on them. And I got the Lions, like you got 11-6. I think those guys are not a fluke. They're not a flash in the pan. They're here to tell the National Football League, definitely NFC. Hey, man, we here for real. They looking for to get that rematch and getting them boys out there in the Bay. Shout out to them Detroit Lions. They make more stars than Detroit makes cars.
Let's go to the NFC South, easily the worst division in the entire football league. I think that's not up for discussions. We're just going to keep going. Let's start with the Atlanta Falcons, A-Town. Cam Newton's hometown, former Carolina Panther, great quarterback, but we'll get to the Panthers in a little bit. Kirk Cousins coming over from the Minnesota Vikings. Bijan Robinson underutilized by Arthur Smith, former head coach who got fired last year, now Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator. Drake London from USC, who also I think has been underwhelmed in his first 3 years in the league. And then Kyle Pitts, our guy from Florida, our Gator great. Kyle, I think this is going to be his coming out party this year. I think Kyle is going to do quite well with Kirk Cousins. Apparently they've been building quite the rapport so far in camp. And that defense, they signed Justin Simmons. They have A.J. Terrell. They also signed Justin Simmons and the other guy, that Matthew Judon, traded for him.
Yeah.
And they got Grady Jarrett in the middle as well. But my word for the Atlanta Falcons is so this is going to just be more of a phrase. Can they actually play winning football? Because that's really what it comes down to for the Atlanta Falcons. Can they play winning football? Their quarterback play. Desmond Ridder got traded to the Arizona Cardinals. You had Marcus Mariota now on his third team in 3 years since he was with the Falcons, Eagles, and now Commanders. This team, Raheem, I love Raheem. Great man, great defensive coordinator, one of the best in the league. I think he was one of the main reasons they won the Super Bowl in LA with Sean McVay was because of Raheem Morris. Zach Robinson, unproven offensive coordinator, former Oklahoma State quarterback, coming over as first-time play caller. I like the Falcons' potential this year. I think most people will be predicting them to win the division, but can they actually play that winning football when it matters most?
My phrase for the Atlanta Falcons is a lot of hype. It's a lot of hype going on right now with Atlanta Falcons. Talk about Kirk Cousins. Judon was a guy that a lot of people was able, a lot of people was really, really high on. They was able to go out there and get him. Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons might be one of the best defensive backfields. You talking about in the National Football League. We talking about 2 Pro Bowl safeties. A.J. Terrell just got his money. Grady Jarrett has been in Atlanta so long. It seemed like he's been there for 30 years. I don't even know if he's 30 years old yet. But I just think that this Atlanta Falcons defense is very, very underrated. When you talk about the offense, it starts with Kirk, my favorite Cousins. You talk about Kyle Pitts, you talk about Drake London, right? You talk about Ray McLeod. You talk about Darnell Mooney. The thing about this Falcons team is they're always all right, never good. Like they're never good. They're all right. They'll do some things they'll beat the Saints. They'll go 1-1 against the Panthers. Panthers beat them. They'll beat the Panthers, and then they'll go 0-2 against the Bucs. A lot of hype. Is the hype real? Because everybody you get excited over is on the defensive side of the ball. You're talking about Judon, you're talking about Simmons, you're talking about Bates, you're talking about Jerry and those guys. Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles tendon injury, and you gave him $180 million, and you went and got Michael Penix.
And we didn't mention, Michael Penix, University of Washington.
I mean, I don't know how much faith you got in Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is great. Listen, Kirk Cousins had the greatest financial career in sports history since he left the then Washington Redskins. He's only played for guaranteed money. He played for back-to-back franchise tags his last 2 years in Washington. He played for only guaranteed money in Minnesota, and he just got $180 million. He's 35 years old. God dang it!
Another guy who you want his agent. Another guy who you want his agent. Kirk Cousins. Some people call him Dak Prescott without the star on the helmet. I mean, that some people compare him to Dak Prescott that way. Anyway. Let's go to the Bayou New Orleans Saints. Their over under is 7.5. Again, Atlanta, who I just mentioned, was 10.5. In case I didn't say that, I think I did though. New Orleans is 7.5 for their win total. That's about where I have them. I might have them under. We'll see in a second. But down in the Bayou, Clint Kubiak coming over from the 49ers as their new offensive play caller. Dennis Allen is still the head coach somehow there. Sean Payton has been gone for a little bit now for the last few years. Derek Carr coming over from the Raiders, his second full season there. Alvin Kamara is another year older at running back. Michael Thomas is gone. Juwan Johnson, an underrated tight end, who I think is pretty good for them. Chris Olave, also underrated. Can he take the next step this year? And then on defense, Cam Jordan is the ageless wonder over there. Tyrann Mathieu at safety, also an ageless wonder. Marshawn Lattimore's had some injury issues. They got my dog, Demario Davis. Love that guy. He is a baller and really underrated linebacker. I'm so glad to see him getting the respect that he's been getting over these last few years. But that defense is getting older, and I just don't know how they're going to be able to compete in this division with the division defense getting older and the offense building a new system. And Derek Carr is still your quarterback.
I mean,
my word for them, my word is going to be beignets. No, are they going to be able to eat their beignets every week down there in New Orleans? Or are they going to be on a diet because they can't stand watching the Saints each week?
Listen, Saints not marching in. That's what I'm gonna say. I mean, matter of fact, the Saints are walking in. As you mentioned, not only are they old on defense, they're getting a little old into on offense too. I mean, when you talk about Alvin Kamara, he's been there a while now, right? Not an old dude, but old as far as like how many games played. Derek Carr is still a starting quarterback in the National Football League. It is the most puzzling thing. He's not bad. He's just not good, right? He's not bad. But think about it. If someone says you're not bad, that means you're not that good. He's not bad. I mean, and that's the thing, right? These Saints, that's what I think of when I'm thinking of. They're all right. I mean, they'll their offense is going to be, when you talk about a guy like Chris Olave, when you talk about Rashid Shaheed and A.T. Perry and those guys, they're gonna be able to go out there and put some points up, but it's not gonna be exciting. And a guy that's really old in the tooth that's still doing Cameron Jordan. I mean, he's still doing it. Cameron Jordan's still doing it. Number 94. He got like over 100 sacks. But I think the thing about this Saints team, I think they've already hit they're past their prime. That's what I'm saying. Past their prime is what I would say for the Saints, because there used to be a time where Drew Brees and company, they would go out there and get it done. They're gonna light it up on offense. It's a head scratcher now. The Saints can blow out the Falcons and be in a nail biter against the Panthers. That's the Saints now. You don't know what you're gonna get with them. Good food in New Orleans, bad service. So that's how I feel about them Saints.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, three-time division champs in the NFC South, lost Dave Canales to the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, which we'll bring up as the last team in this division in a second. Baker Mayfield, we'll see if he can continue his resurgent season once again. Mike Evans is now 31. He's getting up there in age. Cade Otton, underrated tight end, who Dave Canales brought out last year for them. They've got Chris Godwin from Penn State, a legend over there at running back. He's had some trouble staying on the field healthy. Levante David, the ageless wonder at linebacker. They've got Rashad White, running back there, who is also underrated. I think he had a very good rookie season in second year also as well. Todd Bowles, the head coach formerly of the New York Jets, now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is a big year for Todd, because I think if they don't win this division, heck, if they don't go to the playoffs, I think Bowles can be in some real trouble this year. Antoine Winfield, great safety, junior. His dad played in the NFL as well. The Bucs. This team is also a team that I have marked as I already used the Raider phrase for a pirate. So instead of saying pirate, I'm just gonna say, the gas station Buc-ee's. Can they be that kind of Buc-ee's, those Buccaneers this year, or are they going to be the Buc-ee's that one of those you don't really want to go to, and like you said, the food's nasty, and you want to stay away from those Buccaneers?
Man, listen, Long John Silver, that's a pirate. For those of you who don't know about that restaurant, for those of you who used to go there back in the day, listen, they had fish, they had chicken, but the problem is they cooked the fish and the chicken in the same grease. That's why the food tastes the same. So I would call them Long John Silver. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, though, who did resurrect his career. A guy that was the number 1 overall pick, coming out of Oklahoma, starting out, with the Cleveland Browns, supposed to be the savior there, ended up with the Carolina Panthers, ended up over there with the LA and Rams, and now he's found a nice home. Over there, signed a big time contract in the offseason with the Bucs. You mentioned Mike Evans. You mentioned Chris Godwin and company. I mean, you mentioned guys like Vita Vea and those guys, Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, Levante David has found a way to just be about as rock solid, in that on that team. Here's the thing about the Bucs: they're winning the division because the division was bad, not because they're good. They were winning the division because the division was bad, not because they were good, and no fault of their own. Baker Mayfield. He was surprised they won last year. Mike Evans, he got his money in the offseason. He was surprised that they won last year. Well, that's the culture that was built when Tom Brady was there. They was able to carry over, right? Right? It's like having a good economy, and it just keeps going. The next president just picks it up. I am not getting political by no stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying the carryover, the overflow. Overflow is over. Honeymoon is over. You're officially married. You've been married for a long time. There is no sizzle anymore. No, you got the dad bod, and she don't like looking at you. I'm just saying, It's over. We will see what happens, and I'm just saying, and there's nothing wrong with the dad bod, by the way. For those of you saying something wrong with it, keep on looking. Anyway, I'm just saying, I think for the Bucs, they're going to be competitive, but I want to see if Baker Mayfield could do it 2 years in a row, because everybody can have an outlier year. I'm not saying that's what it was last year. I got to see it, but having Chris Godwin, having Mike Williams, having that defense definitely helps.
Let's go to the Carolina Panthers. Resurgence is the word I'm looking for this team, because honestly, folks, can't get any worse. And again, I keep forgetting to do this. Tampa Bay's win total was 8.5. Was their over/under. Carolina is 4.5. Carolina Panthers 4.5. Resurgence is the what I have for them. Bryce Young, quarterback for the Panthers this year, going into his second year. Can't get any worse than the Panthers were last year. Bryce Young, not a good year. Frank Reich, not setting him up for success. Frank Reich was fired, along with Josh McCown, who's now quarterback for the Vikings now, and then Deuce Staley, running backs coach, who's now in Cleveland, I believe. So they were all fired at the same time. The rest of the staff was let go later. They brought in Deontay Johnson, who is a formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, to be the number 1 receiver here in Carolina. Adam Thielen, going to be rocking receiver number 2. Chuba Hubbard, I think, is very underrated for this team at running back. Miles Sanders, we'll see what he can do, if he can resurge himself. Jonathan Brooks, home run hitter from Texas, who is going to start probably on the PUP or short-term IR, so we'll probably see him half of the season for this team, it looks like. And then on defensive side of the ball, they lost Brian Burns to the New York Giants, we mentioned earlier. But Derek Brown is a stud. I have him as the 3rd or 4th best DT in the entire league. He is an absolute animal. And then don't sleep on J.C. Horn now. People want to say Patrick Surtain is better than J.C. Horn. I'm fine with it right now because he obviously has stayed healthy. J.C. Horn has not. But J.C. Horn is a dog, and he is one of the top corners in the National Football League when healthy. I won't say he's top 5, but I'll say he's a top 10, top 7 corner when completely healthy. He will be very big for the Carolina Panthers this year, and him staying healthy. Can they compete for this division, or will they, finish 5, 6, 7 wins? We'll see my prediction here in a second, but resurgence is where I go with this Carolina Panthers team. Dave Canales coming over from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 1 year as an OC, and now he's the Carolina Panthers head coach. I feel like if he had stayed with the Bucs for another couple of years, he would have been really sought after, I think, after in the next year. So I think the Carolina jumped on him early. And for once, owner David Tepper did something good.
My phrase for the Carolina Panthers, Bryce is right. Like the show Price is right. They got it right with Bryce. They did get it right. Bryce is right. Y'all got to prove him right by making sure you keep him upright all year long. You mentioned Thielen, right? You mentioned Deontay Thompson, Xavier Legette. You get him.
Yep, first round pick.
Right? There's something about the Carolina boys. There's a theme about this Carolina team with Carolina boys. You talking about J.C. Horn? Let's not forget the greatest South Carolina Gamecock. You got Jadeveon Clowney back in the building from down the road from Rockville, South Carolina.
That's right.
Number one overall recruit coming out when he came out. Number one player in the draft when he came out. J.C. Horn, Xavier Legette. You talk about Jadeveon Clowney. But here's the thing about the Carolina Panthers team, right? You mentioned Minnesota, right, being the best, the best team, even though they finished 4th in the division. That's going to be Carolina. I got them finishing last in the division again because it takes a lot. When you get rid of a lot, you got to replace those guys, and you did replace them. I like what you said about J.C. Horn. He don't like receive. Look at him and Deontay Thompson going at it in camp. J.C. is nice. He was nice at Carolina, and his biggest thing has been the injury bug. He's long by 6'1", long arms. Physical. He's a one-on-one corner, to play the boundary. But I think this team, still young, at very, very important positions. I think that Adam Thielen's really gonna help Xavier Legette come on, as far as like a receiver. I mean, I think that Deontay Thompson, I think he's the number one guy. You mentioned Chuba Hubbard, they're gonna have to utilize the run game. I think that defense is gonna be sneaky good because you're gonna have a pass rush. Derek Brown, for those of you who don't know who Derek Brown is out of Auburn, listen. Derek Brown is a bad boy. I know we talked about Dexter Lawrence. I know we talked about Justin Simmons and Chris Jones. Ask them guards and tackles what they got. Derek Brown, don't let his little baby face fool you. That's a grown man coming at you every single play. But I like this Carolina Panthers team because they're going to play gritty. They're going to play tough. And they want to prove that Bryce is right. And I think he is right. Right man for the job.
So here's my predictions for the NFC South. I've got Atlanta winning this division. I think, unfortunately, I say this as someone who born in the Carolina region. So someone who is a fan of the Panthers, I will say I have the Falcons winning this division at 10-7. I've got the Bucs finishing right behind them at 9-8. I've got the resurgence for the Carolina Panthers at 8-9. I think they are going to be third in the division at 8-9, and then I've got the New Orleans Saints rounding out this division at 7-10. I think this is going to be a pretty close division.
I listen. Your top two was the same as mine. Falcons 10-7, Bucks 9-8. But I actually switched the last two. I got the Saints going 8-9. I got the Panthers going 7-10, and that could easily switch by the end of the season. I do think the Panthers are going to be very, very competitive. And people say, "Hey man, why do you keep saying that?" Because if you don't make the playoffs, you just want to look competitive. Only certain teams get in. So if you don't get in, no one wants to almost get in. Man, we won 9 games. You're going home. Doesn't matter. So I think the Panthers are going to be very. I got the Saints going 8-9, the Panthers going 7-10. Watch the season end up being the Panthers going 8-9 and the Saints going 7-10. But just my prediction.
Well, we're almost at 2 hours. Let's get through this last division really quickly. The NFC West. Try to spend some time on each team though, like we did for everything else. Start with San Francisco 49ers, the runners-up, 11.5 to DraftKings over and under. The San Francisco 49ers lost the Super Bowl last year. Christian McCaffrey out with calf strain right now. We'll see if he can stay healthy. He's 28 years old now, but he's got a lot of miles on those tires. Brock Purdy, really good quarterback. I think he is a game manager, as Cam Newton said, but he's pretty good. George Kittle's in his 30s. They're getting up there. Deebo Samuel signed his new contract last year. Nick Bosa on the defensive side, bad man there. He also signed a new deal last year. Brandon Ayuk has been the story of the offseason for this team. Still don't have a deal done there. We'll see what happens on that front. They've got Hufanga, the safety, coming back from a torn ACL. Fred Warner is the Luke Kuechly of linebackers right now. He's really good. Drake Greenlaw, their other linebacker who tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl, probably going to be out for the season, unfortunately, or most of it. But this team is going to be really good once again. But I will be on record saying this is the last year of this current era of the 49ers. I think there's going to be some real credit cards coming due this offseason after 2024. It's Super Bowl or bust this year for the 49ers.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. 49ers now.
Super Bowl or bust is my phrase.
Okay, yeah, and I'm gonna just add now or never. I mean, as you mentioned, you talk about Christian McCaffrey, a lot of tread on those ties. Trent Williams, the best left tackle in football, did not report because he still won his deal. You're talking about Brandon Ayuk being the talk of the entire offseason. When you talk about a guy like George Kittle, the best all-around tight end in the National Football League. I think Deebo Samuel benefits from those guys around him. I don't think he's a true number one. I think he benefits. Ricky Pearsall, the number one overall pick out of University of Florida, the University of Florida only draft pick in the 2024 draft. I think it's going to be really, really good. Fred Warner was built to play linebacker. They went to a lab and they said, listen, Luke Kuechly, make a linebacker. He said him. It's Fred Warner. Greenlaw, as you mentioned, probably gonna miss a lot of the year. I think the thing about this entire San Francisco 49ers team, their culture was already built. Listen, let me apologize to John Lynch as the person that said, listen, he skipped the line, didn't coach, wasn't no mentor to nobody, just went straight to the GM position and has proved everybody wrong. Kyle Shanahan calls big plays and big games until it's 4th and 6 on 4th and goal to go for the Super Bowl, and you kick the field goal with Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. Anyway, I believe it's now or never, because as you mentioned, the band, this is gonna be our last year on tour. They break it up. Too many guys. You got too many guys making too much money. Fred Warner's making money. George Kittle's making money. Brandon Ayuk wants his money. Trent Williams won't even report because he wants his money. And listen, and Brock Purdy ain't even got paid yet. What? Yeah, Brock Purdy's going into year 3 under his rookie contract. This is going to be the last year. If he has another year, back-to-back NFC Championship games and one time going to the Super Bowl, you talk about breaking the bank. It's going to be called Brock Purdy Bank and Trust if he does it again, because they're going to have to pay this man.
Let's go to the other team in Los Angeles, the Rams. Sean McVay is the head coach. Matt Stafford just turned 36. He's had some injuries over the last few years. We'll see if he can stay healthy. Kyron Williams, an underrated running back in fantasy. I had him on my team last year. Did really well for me there. Blake Corum, the two-headed monster, will join Williams in the backfield there. You got Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp at wide receiver. On the defense, Aaron Donald, gaping hole there as he did retire. You've got Ernest Young. You've got Brian Young. You've got a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball who I'm struggling to name at this point because the podcast has almost been going for 2 hours. I'm sure you can pick me up there a little bit, Ben. But this team, I think a lot of people have them winning this division over the San Francisco 49ers. This is going to be a resurgent year for the Los Angeles Rams, but just not steal my Carolina Panthers phrase. I'm going to say lightning in a bottle for the Rams, because I think this could be lightning in a bottle this year once again if they can find that perfect chemistry on offense with Matthew Stafford staying healthy. And then if the defense can just be above average with the retirement of Aaron Donald, this team could catch lightning in a bottle and go to the Super Bowl once again.
Yeah, for those people that are saying that the Rams are going to be able to win the division and beat the 49ers, you need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid, because that's what y'all doing. The Rams might have a resurgence. They are not on the same level as 49ers right now, for the simple fact that the Rams, while they have, Matthew Stafford, who's getting older in the tooth, and he's been able to, resurrect his career by adding a Super Bowl to it. They was able to go out there and get another big-time receiver in Puka to go along with, with Cooper Kupp and DeMarcus Robinson. I like the Rams. I don't love the Rams. Sean McVay doesn't get enough credit for how brilliant of an offensive play caller he is. But replacing Aaron Donald, you're gonna look okay on the defensive line. You're not gonna look dynamic on the defensive line. You got some players on defense, and I just Ernest Jones. They're big time linebacker. Just ask for a trade.
Yes, Ernest.
Trade, though. So listen, if your best player on defense is asking for a trade, that means that things aren't as beautiful as we thought in Los Angeles. And listen, if you ever lived in Los Angeles, that costs a lot of money to live out there. Hey, Ernest, as a guy from the coastal Georgia area, come on back to the ATL. We can need you over here. But I like the Rams. I don't love the Rams. Competing for the 49ers. Listen, y'all LA beat writers. Y'all need to stop sipping the Kool-Aid, stop spiking the punch, because they all tripping right now if you think the Rams are going to beat the 49ers.
Yeah, Byron Young is the name I was trying to think of, and then their two rookies, Braden Fisk and Jared Verse from Florida State. 8.5 was that under total for the Rams. Let's move on to the Arizona Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. That man is going to be a problem in the league this year. They are they're very annoying. Is the Arizona Cardinals? They're like a bug that you try to shoo away, but they're just going to keep coming back at you. And I feel like that's what they did last year. And I think they're going to do it just again this year in year 2 under the Jonathan Gannon era. Kyler Murray fully back from his torn ACL. James Conner still in the backfield. Trey Benson from Florida State is also in that backfield as a rookie. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the new number 1, will be the new number 1. Trey McBride, one of the most underrated tight ends in the league. He did well as a rookie and was able to really establish himself as a threat for Kyler Murray down the field, that red zone target. And then on defense, just a bunch of names that Gannon tried to put together last year, and it didn't work out. But it's his first year, and so he's going to have some more names this year. They're going to get better on that side of the ball. I have them finishing last, full disclosure, in this division, but not because they're necessarily bad, but because they are going to be just taking another step.
It's the Cardinals. It's the Cardinals. Kyler Murray has gone through what, 3 coaches now? This is his 3rd coach, I think, under him. And that's the thing about Kyler Murray. If Kyler Murray is good, he can help coaches get extensions. And when Kyler Murray is bad or hurt, coaches get fired. Because that is what has happened. That is what has happened under Kyler Murray. I mean, we mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr. I know he's going to be a stud in the National Football League. I mean, surprise, he's Marvin Harrison Jr. His daddy was a Troupe. I was actually in the same division with Marvin Harrison Sr., Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, Peyton Manning. How you going to beat them? Anyway, that's just nightmares. The only player I know on their defense is Buda Baker. I don't know nobody on the defense other than him as far as like play significant snaps and experience. The Cardinals, unfortunately, are in the division that had they been in another division less competitive, they would actually be good.
Yeah,
there's no way you can compete with the 49ers, the Rams, or even the Seahawks, that matter. Like Kyler Murray, but listen, this might be Kyler Murray's last year, not because he's not a good player, making too much money to be okay, to be subpar. And you can't pay a guy that much money to stay hurt and to make sure you should be on the outside looking in when the playoffs arrive.
6.5 is their over under for the Cardinals, and we wrap everything up now with the Seattle Seahawks. 7.5 is their win total. Their word for me is nasty and mean. I think that's the phrase I'm using for the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Macdonald coming over from the Ravens, where they had that nasty, mean defense. He had C.J. Stroud guessing left and right in that playoff game last year. Mike Macdonald can call a defensive game plan now. Head coach now, first year over there in Seattle, replaces Pete Carroll, who I heard is going back to USC, doing something with in some classes there.
I think he's teaching. I mean, everybody gonna be getting that class just because. I mean, they ain't gonna know what the hell he's talking about. He ain't gonna know what the hell he's talking about, but he will be saying, "Hey, man, it's Pete Carroll here." He go and says, "Dude, why you keep calling plays?" Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Kenneth Walker III is the dynamic running back for the Seahawks. Geno Smith and Sam Howell. I think Geno will be starting, obviously, but Sam has a short leash right behind him. Geno's got to have a good year this year. They're paying him a decent amount of money on that side of the ball. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. That's a pretty good trio. I think there are ones better, but that's very good. On the defensive side of the ball, you've got Devon Witherspoon is the corner who makes that defense go. They're going to be great with McDonald. They're not Legion of Boom good, but they're normally pretty solid over on that side of the ball for the Seattle Seahawks. They're in the Pacific Northwest as they navigate life without Pete Carroll.
Geno Smith is finally. Well, my word. Listen. My word for the Seahawks is, man, listen, look out. And the reason why I say it is, listen, the heart and soul of that team is DK Metcalf. I mean, he looks like an action figure at the wide receiver position. I mean, 6'3", 235 pounds, probably the fastest guy on the team. Tyler Lockett has been about as rock solid as you can get. I think the thing you talk about, Kenneth, Walker and those guys. I think the thing about the Seahawks is they built up a nice culture, even though it's going to be crazy watching that sideline not having Pete Carroll there. They're never going to be what they once were. Listen, with Russell Wilson and Legion of Boom, and Marshawn Lynch, but they got the 12th man. They're going to find a way to be really, really competitive. They've learned how to play winning football. And Geno Smith, just like a Baker Mayfield, find a way to, resurrect his career, just stay this time or whatever. Now he's a starting quarterback. He got three good receivers, a really, really nice receiver core to throw to. You got three different receivers. You got the running game. And look, man, they in the division. They got the 49ers in it. They know they got to be really competitive to try to compete. I don't got them winning the division, but I got them being very competitive in it.
So to wrap up our last division in the entire NFL as a whole, I've got the 49ers, San Francisco 49ers winning this division at 11-6. I've got the LA Rams finishing behind them at 10-7, followed by the Seattle Seahawks at 9-8, and then the Arizona Cardinals at 7-10 once again.
I got the 49ers winning the division at 12-5. I got the Rams and the Seahawks both going to 8-9. I think both of them, I think both of them going to be real competitive, but I think the Rams, it's just going to be too much scratching and clawing, not enough defense to keep them in games with the Seahawks. They got a good defense, but they're going through a resurrection up there with Pete Carroll. And the Cardinals are the Cardinals. I got to be in 6-11. Marvin Harrison, he got to go from Ohio State. He still get to wear red, or I think it's scarlet up there in Columbus. Still get to wear the same colors, but not the same production. 6-11 with them Cardinals.
Well, as we've seen, we've almost gone 2 hours for this debut episode of Winning the Division. The other episodes are probably not going to be this long. So for those who may not want to listen to the full episode, we'll give you clips certainly as we promote this podcast. This will be a weekly show that we will be doing. We might be doing more than one a week, depending on the things that happen. We'll see. But Ben, any last words before we sign off as we start our journey here together on winning the division?
Listen, we want to make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to these episodes. Everyone is going to be up on YouTube, as he mentioned. We're going to be on different networks like, the Fans First Network. You're talking about the Tobacco Road, radio network. We're going to be having a lot of fun. Listen, winning the division is all about the teams, the schemes, the transactions. We are preaching about the culture of the National Football League, the best game in America, one of the greatest games there is. But look, when it comes to the winning division, it's two things. You either win the division or you just end the division. It's up to you. But I am being true. He is Ryan Smith. You're gonna be seeing our mugs a lot. And like I say, if you got an NFL podcast out there, we ain't coming for you, but we are coming for you. Just saying.
All right. Well, that's a good place to end it. Thanks again. You can find myself on Twitter, @RyanSmith7, and then Ben
at Ben Troupe 84 on all social media platforms.
All right. We'll see you guys for episode number 2. And thanks again for tuning in.